Hey, homeschoolers, how can you have a better homeschool year? You can start today. I predict that you will love this easy, life changing strategy. Before I tell you more about it, though, I want to give you an example from way back when I was practicing as a licensed psychologist. I had a young boy who was my client, and he was getting into trouble at school every single day. In fact, the teacher was sending a note home almost every day about his misbehavior in the classroom. So, my idea was that we needed to break this negative cycle where he was always being called out on his bad behavior, and that was the focus. So, I asked the teacher to begin looking for something that went well during the day that she could write a note home about. What she told me was that she did not have time to do that. Now, it would be easy for me to judge her because she wasn't understanding my philosophy. And it was also a little bit hypocritical, but I do understand where she was coming from. She had her hands full of possibly 25 students in her classroom, and she didn't have time from her perspective to be thinking about what this one student was doing well in the classroom. Fortunately, we aren't in that position. I don't know any homeschoolers who have 25 children that they are teaching in their home. So we have a lot more time that we can pay attention to what our students are doing well. And the reason that this works is because we know whatever we pay attention to tends to expand. So let me give you an example that has nothing to do with homeschooling and has everything to do with a behavior change you might want to make. As soon as you start thinking about desserts and how delicious they are and what your favorites are and how much you will miss them if you are trying to cut them out of your diet to lose weight, what happens? We tend to fixate on the desserts and crave them even more, and we can end up eating more of them than we would have if we hadn't focused on desserts at all. The same concept can apply to our kids in our homeschools and also to our own behavior. So, before I tell you about this strategy, which I'm going to call the What's Better strategy, I want to tell you what the benefits are potentially for you and your kids. First of all, you and your kids can have a better self image, better self esteem, if you will. You will feel better about yourself. Why is that important? Because we know that the better we feel about how we are doing as teachers, as students, as sons, daughters, parents, the better we do. We tend to act out of our beliefs about ourselves. So if we have a more positive belief about ourselves, then we are likely to behave better. And so the other benefits tend to go along with that. We begin having a better mood because we feel better about ourselves. We feel like we're doing well in the things that are important to us. We feel better. Our mood improves. We don't feel as anxious. We don't feel as down. We actually can have more energy because we're feeling better about ourselves. And then finally, we can have some real behavioral consequences of these beliefs. So, from using this strategy, positive beliefs about ourselves, a better mood can then lead to better behavior. We get more done. We might even begin enjoying the activities that have been a struggle for us in the past. So, just as the negative cycle can perpetuate, that teacher was sending home negative notes about this boy's behavior, that was increasing the behavior because the focus was on the negative. So a positive focus can create a positive cycle where the more we notice about ourselves and our kids that is positive, the better things go, the better our behavior. So, if you are game to learn about the What's Better strategy, I am excited to tell you all about it. Honestly, this strategy has been life changing for me already. I don't plan to stop using it because it has had such an incredible impact on my life in all the ways that I just mentioned, on my self image, on my mood, and on my productivity. Okay, so what is it? What is the What's Better strategy? I learned about this strategy from a Mark Forster book called How to Make Your Dreams Come True. I'm going to put the link for it in the show notes so you can find the exact title. But Mark Forster is someone whose ideas I have benefited from so many times over the years. I wrote about his strategies in detail in A Year of Living Productively, if you want to check that book out. But this concept is that every day you keep a What's Better list. I actually keep it for myself personally in the Notes app on my phone, and I just date it. I keep one note and I just keep adding to it at the top. I have the date, and then I write down everything that I have noticed that is better about me and my day, how I'm living my day. So it doesn't have to be so precise and perfect so that I only put what is better from yesterday. So, in other words, I will put down, hey, I have been walking consistently every morning. And so that isn't better from yesterday, but it is a better habit than I have had in the past. And I want to emphasize that to myself that I have really kept it up. So I hope that helps you to see what kinds of things you might add to the list. So I will give you some other examples that will go on my list for today. I had a dirty sink in my master bath, um, my master bathroom. Normally, I would save that task for a Saturday when I have planned to do a lot of home cleaning chores. But what will often happen when Saturday rolls around is I don't feel like it. And maybe I will skip it. Maybe I'm busy and I will save it for another time. So it went on my list of what's better because I just had a moment. And so I just cleaned my sink. Anything can go on this list. It could be I was slower to react negatively to my kids' misbehavior. I drank more water. That is something that I have been putting on my what's better list. I am drinking water only at meals, which is a change for me. Um, Anything at all. My mood is better. I I played a board game with my kids instead of getting online. Anything at all can go on your list. But now, what about your kids? I think you have some options for how you can do the What's Better list that Mark Forster doesn't talk about in his book. As homeschooling moms, we can ask our kids just even throughout the day. I think maybe doing it at the end of the day would be okay. What was better about your day today? What went better for you? And we want to model this for our kids that it doesn't have to be some gigantic thing. It can be, you know what? I went outside to play instead of jumping on video games right away. So that was better. It could be anything like that. I think you could ask your kids throughout the day. I think you could keep a written list either in a notebook that's closed or you could post it somewhere. You could put it on a whiteboard, on a sheet of paper that's on your fridge, on a little magnetic whiteboard on your fridge, if you want to call attention to what is going better. Everyone's attention then is going to be on the positive. So I think there are a number of ways that you can do this. You could just do it verbally if you don't want to write it down. You could ask, okay, what is better at breakfast? What is better at lunch? What is better at dinner? What is better at bedtime? So you could be asking those questions throughout the day. I actually think having some kind of a record of it makes it seem even more important and valuable. But that is up to you. You have to do what you know you will actually follow through with your family. So then the question becomes, what do I do if the um, the day that my child had or the day that I had wasn't that great? I had maybe a serious problem. So let's say that, I got up today and I did clean my sink in my master bathroom, but then the rest of the day I just spent scrolling online and I didn't get any work done. Okay. Or I was really short with my husband. I snapped at him. And so then what happens is we can become really kind of stuck trying to come up with what was better about our day. And so I want to give you two options for how to manage these negative experiences with our kids or ourselves that are incredibly useful and powerful. The first is to ask yourself or your child what was learned in that situation. Okay, so let's say that I do spend all of my afternoon online, which I'm not going to, by the way, but let's say that I do that and I'm just scrolling and scrolling. What might I have learned from that? Well, one thing is maybe I didn't have anything planned for how to use my time or anything that I felt like I was ready to do because maybe I did have something on my list, but it was just too big. I hadn't broken it down. Maybe if your child is just drawn to video games or drawn to something else that you don't think is as constructive in the way that you want them to spend their time, it's maybe because they didn't have a really good book to read. Okay. Whatever the reason is that contributed to that negative experience, we can learn from that, prevent it in the future, and then we can add that to our what's better list. So is it better that your child was, on the video games and you had to keep pulling him or her off? Was it better that I was online all afternoon? Of course not. But if I learn something from that that will help me be better the next day, then that goes on the what's better list. So that is one way of dealing with that. The second way of approaching a negative experience during the day is to look for the smallest positive. When I was talking with that teacher whose students' behavior was disruptive in the classroom, that is really what I was talking to her about. It can be very challenging to find those little positives, but they can make a world of difference. So, what we want is to find a small step, a small step in a positive direction. The power of this is so great. And what I like to explain to people is that I was able to train a rat to play basketball. How? Simply through rewarding successive approximations. Successive approximations just mean little tiny steps in the right direction. Every time when I was first training the rat, that the rat moved in the right direction, I would reward him with a food pellet. And then every time the rat touched the marble. I rewarded. I rewarded. So you can look for positive things in yourself, positive steps, little tiny steps in your kids. So maybe your child did blow up. Maybe your child did have a fight with a sibling. But was there a time when they were getting along and sitting quietly? Was there anything positive that your child did during the day that you can draw attention to and put on the what's better list? Even acknowledging that we messed up can go on the what's better list. If your child says, "Yeah, I know, I shouldn't have done that," that goes on the what's better list. It is all getting closer to the goals that we have for ourselves and for our kids. The next way that I want to discuss how to use the what's better list is in the resources that I have created. So let's say you have a child who is using Grammar Galaxy for language arts. Your child can write what is better about their reading, how they have improved in grammar, what grammar concepts have they learned, what spelling words had they learned that were previously challenging for them, what writing exercises have they learned to appreciate? Has their handwriting speed improved? If you combine Grammar Galaxy with a what's better list, I think you will see massive improvement. Combine the what's better list with training aliens. This will be an incredible way to help your child track their improvement in social and emotional skills. Whichever skill you are using in training aliens, add that to your daily routine. What is better about meeting new people? Well, I said hello a lot faster than I have in the past. Fantastic. That goes on the what's better list. Then use the what's better list with the organized homeschool life. Maybe your organized homeschool life book has been sitting on the shelf. Maybe you haven't been using your planner. But if you do anything, if you open the book and read a mission for the week, add that to the what's better list because it is better. If you actually sat down and wrote down your top 3 priorities for today, add that to the what's better list if you haven't been doing that before. You will find that very quickly you can develop the habit of organizing. If you want to be more productive, then you can do the very same thing with a year of living productively, in which I give you all kinds of ideas for how you can become more productive. So try something, and no matter what you find as far as its effectiveness, add it to the what's better list. I think using these strategies can make a huge difference in your kids, in yourself, for this summer and for this upcoming school year. If you continue this process, which, as I've said before, I absolutely plan to do. If you would like links to Mark Forster's book and to the resources that I've created that you can use together with the What's Better list, visit the show notes page at homeschoolsanity.com/better. Have a happy homeschool week. And if you are going to be at the Great Homeschool Convention in California, please stop by the Grammar Galaxy Books booth to say hello.